Some of it will be on a PowerPoint, some of it won't, but it's because I stole some corporate PowerPoints. I wonder, I don't know if I can present. I'll just check the meet occasionally. Okay. I think that means that somebody else is trying to, yes, it is. Okay. Okay, excellent. Oh, and Alice is watching chats. Yay. Okay, that means I can just do whatever. Okay, so this is actually a full disclosure. It's actually a set of slides from Kate Conquest, who is from Coldwell Banker, the actual brand. This was for the managers, but I think there's a lot of really good stuff in there that I think from a market perspective is worthwhile. So we'll go through some of it. So the first thing that we were looking at is what is considered a normalized housing market, and are we normalizing by having a tiny little slowdown? I think that's a pretty easy one, but she showed some California stats, which I don't want to really go too far into because I think that we're just a different world. A couple things to take a look at though. Nationally, this is in California, that 70% of houses sold above asking price. Nationally, it's about 50%. So that's still a lot of houses selling above asking price. And so even if you see, hey, we had a little bit of a dip in year-over-year sales, it's not necessarily because we've got a market that's going anywhere. It's just the lack of inventory. So just because we're declining from an absolute record high, I don't think means too much. When again we're talking about normal, and actually I was in with the COO of Gold Star, and their numbers were a little bit different. They looked at the 20, I think it was 25 or 30 years. Well, from what's 1970 to now is like 50 years, isn't it? I always think that's 30 years. But so they looked at what the normal mortgage rates are. This is saying 5%. Realistically, the average has been more around 6. When you're at 2.86 today, it's hard to say, well, if we go to 3.5, then we're somehow, outside the norm. Again, year over year price appreciation. So I think I don't want to just throw stats at you guys. I think the reason that we're looking at these is if you're looking at people who are saying, well, wait a minute, should I wait? And is the market going to crash? And should I be better off waiting till next year to buy a house? And it's like, well, no, I just don't think that's the case. So none of the stats that you're seeing on the screen are normal. So I think that's indicative of a lot. So a couple of the Black Knight, if you don't know, Black Knight is the software that runs Paragon. And the stats that they were looking at as far as a year-over-year price appreciation, July to August, 19%. And then year-over-year first half of September, 11%. To say that 11% annual growth is the slowest annual growth in more than a year, that's crazy, especially from 3.3 or 3.8 kind of long-term growth. But this is not super important. Just a quick note that Detroit Metro had a 16% appreciation rate in the last year. That's absolutely nuts, but you can still see it's worse in a couple other places. Phoenix having a 30% increase in price year over year. So the whole gist of all this is that things are still crazy. And even if they settle down a little bit, we're still instead of just being in the most extreme seller's market we've ever had, we are just going to be in a regular old seller's market. I think this is fairly important because this is estimated home price performance is there's a couple of different metrics that I'll show you. This one was by some economists, and then there's actually one that's by consumers. So we look 2021, we already know that we're at almost 12%. This is nationally. So it looks like over the next 5 years, we still are going to have an increase in the market. We're just not by the leaps and bounds that we are now, which is good. If we had prices appreciating 11% every year, you have a $200,000 house that in 5 years is going to be, I can't do the math. It's a lot. It would make things just not remotely affordable. So we're predicting then 5.8 in 2022, 3.9 in 2023. This is assuming that interest rates don't take a massive spike, which I don't think that they will. But so you can just plan on more regular growth, which is good. This is the one that's by consumers. Consumers were wondering what their expected home value change is. they're expecting their values going to go up by a cumulative of 31% through 2025. So that's showing that consumer confidence is still very high. And that's, I think it might even be a little bit more optimistic, but I'd much rather have consumer confidence be optimistic than pessimistic. Okay. I don't think I want to go too much into all this stuff, but just the worst forecast that we saw for 2022 was a 3% growth, and the highest was a 6.2% growth. So that's all within a couple percentage points of each other. But even even our lowest model at 3%, nobody is increasing a dip, or I'm sorry, is predicting a dip. Okay. The only other thing that I want to point out from this slide set is that we had a 10% increase in housing inventory in August. I think that's very good. I think that we've been struggling with inventory for a long time. One of the things I think we may continue to see is there's going to be a rise in build to rent, especially I know that new construction, we've got a struggle in the, let's call it the low to mid end anyways. And to have some build to rent is going to put even some more pressure on. But the good thing is just the fact that that housing inventory is going to be there. Eventually those will be sold to single families, and having that smaller range new construction or newer construction, I think is going to be really helpful. We've been saying for a long time, if somebody can start building, $250,000 to $350,000 new constructions, they just have more business than they know what to do with. So we can see we're adding inventory a little bit faster than some other states, but also our seasonal market kicks in a little bit faster than it does in some of the other places as well. A little bit odd. I always figure that September is a slow month for us, but we didn't add much in the way of inventory in September. I can't say that I 100% know exactly why that is, other than, hey, we've got a little bit of, like I said, seasonal change. I've actually seen it pick up now in October. Obviously, we don't have the October numbers, but even within our office, September was our slowest listing month since I've been here. In October, we've been, well, you can see the sales board. October, we've been gangbusters, which is really excellent. All right, enough about numbers and fun stuff there. Oh, sorry, one more thing. When people complain to you that home affordability is, I can't afford to buy a house, this and this. We are certainly coming down from where we were earlier in the year and where we were in 2020. Yes, prices have gone up, but with rates staying low, and I know that these numbers don't mean, and the reference point is a little bit tough until you start looking at the total trends. So if you look at home affordability, when the market tanked, you can see here, this is 2009, 10, 11, 12. It is way more, and you would think that when distressed properties were dominating the market, that it would be opposite, that it'd be very affordable to buy a house. But the problem was with interest rates, and then also with wage growth and jobs, it was the exact opposite. So the value of 100, meaning is family with median income has exactly enough income to qualify for mortgage on median priced house. We all know that that's not really normally the case. Like median price in Clarkston's was a 380. Median income isn't going to be able to afford 380. So, but we are much closer to that than we've been in a long time. It was interesting that it was low enough there in 05, 06, 2007. Part of this, by the way, was because of the mortgage shenanigans that were going on. It was not because somehow that the things were actually more affordable. It's because people were getting shitty loans. So that's something to point out when buyers say, well, houses aren't affordable. Oh, I wish I could have bought in 2009. It's like, well, maybe not. So, I want to zoom in on this real quick. So I wonder if I can zoom in even on the screen more. You guys probably cannot see this very well. Maybe not. The blue line is house pricing and the red line is income per capita. The thing to point out there is that household income in Michigan has been going up in a more normally, if in a standard market, those lines should basically follow each other. House prices should follow income. And in Michigan, our income is actually growing faster than our house pricing. So, and it's actually the first time in over 10 years that that wages have outpaced, that have grown outpacing inflation adjustments. So we've actually had a nice adjustment in wages there too. And then one last thing, year over year rental rates are basically running just the way that housing is too. So if again you have somebody that's wondering whether they should buy or they should rent, well, hey, do you want your rent to go up 12%? And remember too, renting going up 12% is a lot more expensive for the actual your month to month than it is for than it is for if your house went up 12%. I'm just running over a couple of numbers with you guys. And I'll actually share out part of these slides if it's something that you want to kind of show your clients. Another thing is, again, when we're talking about, and I know that we've said I think it's 600% household net worth for homeowners versus renters over the long term. We're going to continue that. So this is just from if you have a $350,000 house, your household net wealth is expected to grow 111,000 just because of your home ownership in the next 5 years. So if you're looking at buying or renting, that's a really nice stat to show. I actually don't want to talk about the numbers of this, but what I do, you know what? I'll talk about that in a second. Because we're jumping around, it's not in the exact order of what I want to talk about. Well, last stat, we know that everyone was worried about forbearances. We had, I believe it was 4 million forbearances that came in 2020. The vast majority of those forbearances didn't even need mortgage assistance. And the lenders were not even able to ask for proof of hardship or anything like that. You could just email your lender and say, hey, I want a forbearance, and they had to do it. So I don't think that a lot of people in the beginning of this were saying, well, are we going to see this massive glut of foreclosures? And the truth is, well, no, we're really not, because the difference between 2008 and 2020, in addition to not having all these crappy loans, is even if they're in forbearance and they need to sell, they've got equity. And so they can just have a private sale, pay off their loan, and go do something else. So this is now after about a year of these forbearances. 40% of our forbearances were totally paid in full. 40% worked out a repayment plan. So only 18% of the people that were in forbearance are still in any sort of forbearance trouble. And I think that the vast majority of them are going to have just that equity basically going to be re-amortized and added onto the back. Hang on, somebody else's. I don't think. Oh, I do have to admit. Okay, so I'm admitting people. Hi, Stacy. All right, welcome aboard. Okay, so long and short of that is, should you be super worried about forbearances causing another 2008? No, don't worry about it. So I do think that it is and it's something that we can look into. I think it is an area of opportunity for us if there are some of these people that are still in trouble. So still 17% of, I think that we've still got, I think 2+ million forbearances. That's still a lot of houses that may come onto the market. I'm looking into resources if we can find who those people are. Because if they can sell with equity, that may be a really, especially in a market that we're really short on inventory. I think that would be a great, and I don't have an answer to that yet, but it's something that just was dinging in my brain. And this is what we were saying, so a very, very, very small amount have less than 10% equity. And of those, 2% are at current loan value, 4% within 18 months deferred interest, and 7% are within 18 months for PITI, which means basically they are the difference of what they owe and what their forbearance was is really minimal. This isn't that we've taken, I mean, 2008, you were seeing 20-30% drops in value and people were underwater by 10-15%. We're just not even looking at, and this is only that, the shares of those that have less than 10% equity, which is not the vast majority of them. I just don't think that we're going to see a lot in the way of, sorry, that is not necessarily, all right. I'm not going to present my screen anymore because that portion of the PowerPoint's done. I think the thing to take away from it is, again, I don't think that we're going to have a ton of foreclosures. The forbearance thing is certainly concerning. But I think the other thing is your average person has no idea how to handle these. Most people don't know the resources that are available to them. And a lot of the value that we as agents provide is not just during the transaction, it's transaction to transaction. So if you're being the resource for them when it comes to, hey, I'm in forbearance, what do I do? I would, and maybe we can set up a class on it, but I definitely think that having some education, okay, what are your forbearance options? Maybe we'll have a lender come in and talk about it. Because they need to know, if they think that, oh, well, I'm in forbearance, I can't make up my payments, I've now just got to foreclose. That's really probably not the case. And as much as we'd love the listings of people that want to sell because they're in forbearance, it's really not good for the greater economy here. So if we can be a resource, I think that'd be excellent. So I also just want to share some more notes that I had. By the way, if you have any questions about that, I'm going to pull some of those slides. If you have questions, just let me know. Which kind of leads me to the next thing. Knowing the numbers we're coming into we'll call it the social season. We're going to be gathering to some degree or another, probably more than we did otherwise, because you've got Halloween coming up, you've got Thanksgiving coming up, you've got Christmas and New Year's. So you're going to be seeing people. We always know that we get the question of, well, so how's real estate or how's the market or whatever. I've always in the past said, well, that depends. What do you think? Which segment of the market are you considering buying, selling, or renting? As I've thought about that answer a lot lately, and it's almost become a bit salesy as well. And some people will say, oh, well, they appreciate that because they see that you're in sales. I don't think that most people do. So I think that the phraseology of that may be needing to have a little bit of a shift. Instead of maybe, well, what are you thinking about, buying, selling, rent? They're probably not thinking of any of those. So I think that providing something that's relevant as far as if you know that they're a homeowner, so knowing your audience a bit. So maybe having in your back pocket an equity stat when it comes to people that are homeowners. Hey, just so you know, man, in our area, prices went up 11.5% last year. That's a really great thing for your equity stake, because these people that are asking the questions, if they're not really looking to buy or sell, they really don't care about how the market is. They care about what the value of their home is. So I think having an equity stat, and we'll talk a little bit more about equity in a minute. And I think if somebody you're talking to, they're younger, maybe that that they haven't owned a home yet. I think the pertinent stat to be telling them would be talking about low interest rates and affordability. So instead of saying, well, how's the market? Well, it depends. Are you looking to buy, sell, or rent? Hey, I know that you're a homeowner. Your equity stake has gone up by this much. Hey, I know that you're a new home buyer. Prices have gone up a little bit, but affordability stays really low because of our interest rates. And the way that I was thinking about that is numbers. Throwing stats and numbers sometimes it can be a fun little, oh, hey, this, but it makes me feel smart when I know the numbers. But what we really want to do is tell a story with the numbers. We want the numbers to just support what our story is and what our narrative is. And I've been thinking a lot lately about what as agents are we crafting as our narrative between transactions. So because again, the great agent from Birmingham, Karen Greenwood, told me if you are looking for people when they are thinking about buying or selling, you're already too late. And I think that's really true. And I think now I'm like, I think she said that. This has been a long time ago. It was in like a top. I was, Lori let me sit in on a top producer mastermind with Kevin Payton like 6 or 7 years ago to kind of show me what the level at which they were talking. I think she said that on a virtual mastermind, but that's stuck with me forever. Yeah, she 100% will not remember that.
You can quote her.
Yeah, so I'm going to quote her anyways. But so I've really been thinking a lot about what's the narrative that we're crafting for the people that aren't actually looking to buy or sell. Whereas for example, you don't think about your car salesman unless you're looking for a car. You don't think about your attorney unless you're get served divorce papers or you get sued or something like that. So, and most people don't think about the realtor unless they're looking to buy or sell. And as we know, because of all the resources that are out there with the Zillows and the Premier Agents and all this other shit, they may not come back to you even if you did, had excellent service. What's the stat? 94% of people were satisfied with their realtor. 80 something said they would use them again, and only I think it's 18% actually do.
And why?
Because we have absolutely failed at staying in meaningful contact. It's not just necessarily, oh, I send them the postcards that the company pays for. It's not just, oh, hey, I send them a calendar now and then. It's what is not just staying in contact, but staying in meaningful contact. And so I've been thinking a lot about what meaningful contact is. And
it doesn't look fake.
I totally agree. And I think that there's two things. There's number one, it's personal contact about their lives. And I don't know how I feel about that. I think if there's somebody that you're friendly with and you stay in contact, I think that's great. I also think, does it feel, and maybe you guys can help me with this, does it feel a little bit fake when you're calling a client that you haven't talked to in 5 years and you're like, hey, I'm just calling to check in and see how you're doing.
Yeah, that's fake.
It's like, well, and that's where I'm a huge supporter of Ninja, but that's the one area in which I deviate a little bit when it comes to past clients. I do think if you have a trigger that says that, hey, my gosh, I'm so sorry we haven't talked, but I saw that your daughter got married on Facebook and that's so cool. And I just had a daughter and that, like, yes, can you swing it where it's personal? I think so. I think a much better, and I don't think that this should take the place of caring about your clients, because we all do. We all care about our clients. If you have a value add as an in, I think that's a great intro to asking about their family. Hey, I just saw it. And again, so for me, I actually just got in touch with 3 of my old sellers from years ago because they messaged me on HomeBot and said, hey, what's the story with my equity? Okay, here's a CMA, call them up. I got 2 more to call today. Hey, here's the equity story. Just so you know, I'm sending you a quick Claude CMA link. Here's something that you might want to take a look at. By the way, how's your wife doing? How are your kids doing? How's the job going? Because then it's a very easy thing to just say, hey, let's catch up. Especially a lot of your past clients, if you're like me at all, a lot of them kind of become friends, and maybe you go out to dinner with them once or twice and then you kind of lose contact because you can only,
they are my friends.
and you can only keep up with, at least if you're like me, I can only keep up with so many friends. And, before we had the baby, it's like, we used to go out with past clients like once a week and we have drinks or whatever. And it's just,
we understand your struggle.
well, but a lot of that actually really was the COVID stuff that started it.
Yeah, right.
And, then it's, again, Peter's giving you excuses for why he hasn't done the things that he's telling you to do.
We all hear you.
I mean, when I put up a post on Facebook, it feels good when someone makes an actual comment, not
Yes.
like looking good, like something,
Meaningful.
right. So I try to make my comments, like that.
And again, if you have
Even
not,
if it's funny.
yes, and
You
be
know?
funny. And it doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't have to be
Right.
Sean Carpenter talks about his 4-H club, which is he does the 4 handwritten notes. He does, of course, I'm forgetting what all of them are. But for me, the way that I did it was I always sent a couple handwritten notes. But my generation not as big on handwritten notes. I went through and made sure to do 5 meaningful comments or direct messages on both my Facebook and my Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know. I deleted my too much negativity, guys.
I never had it.
And you're looking for life changes, and even if you've got birthdays. So for example, yesterday was Kim Pollock's birthday. I missed it. Sorry. So I'll text her today and be like, hey, so sorry I missed your birthday. Happy birthday. I hope you had a wonderful day. Like, you're a great part of our marketing program, whatever. Like, not just the standard, even if you're just writing on their wall, hey, everybody gets happy birthday.
I hate
But if
that.
it's
Give it a little something.
right.
Yeah,
Hey, happy birthday. I'm so glad to be a part of your life. I hope you have a wonderful day and just a wonderful rest of the year. Just a little bit more thought. And the thing is, let's be honest, guys, you guys are all scrolling social media anyways. I see you when you're in the office doing this. I'm just kidding. I don't.
Oh, if you see a green dot, they're on there too.
Yeah. So we just,
The stalker in me knows.
yeah. And just as a side note there about social media, I number one, set an app timer. If you're like noticing that you're losing hours of your life doing stupid things on social media, set an app timer. So I had a 20-minute app timer on Instagram and a 20-minute app timer on Facebook. I go on, I schedule my time, I look and I make sure to interact, and then get off. The only difference I would say is if you follow a lot of, my favorite social media strategy is called R&D, and that's not research and development. It's rip off and duplicate. Where the easiest way to share relevant content on social media is follow other people that share relevant content and steal their shit. That's my favorite thing to do. So I followed a couple people that I knew would be posting interesting things. I put them first at the top of my feed, and then I'd share out. I would go to the link, copy, instead of just sharing the post, go to the link, copy it, share it on mine.
Oh, okay.
Just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No attributes.
That's well,
Right.
most of the time they're sharing third-party stuff anyways. So just a little note there on social media. I know that wasn't particularly from Ignite, but it goes back to adding value between the transactions. So one more thing about how to kind of talk to people at your social functions. Again, I think always coming from a place of contribution, of value. We're not asking for business at social functions. That's pretty obvious. I think any of us would be terrified to do that anyways.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't attract we don't attract insurance salesmen. Like, no offense, I know Nora owned an insurance agency. So maybe she'll laugh at this, but it seems like insurance people are always the ones that want to give you their business card. We don't seem to have that type here. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but we just seem to be a different breed.
This is
See,
a
now I
side
got
note,
off the
but you
rail.
know what I have a problem with on Facebook?
Yes.
It's been about 3 different people who I do not know, never heard of at all. They are all fitness and nutrition gurus and they want to friend me. I think that's a pretty hard sell. That's insulting.
Yeah. It's full of,
I'm
it's
like,
Facebook is full of
You
creeps,
gotta be kidding me.
salespeople and perverts. And it's a bad place. It's a hive of
Some are
scum
all
and villainy,
free.
right?
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not subtle.
Yeah. And again, when we're coming from that place of contribution, knowing being that knowledge, they call it the knowledge broker, is I think the best thing to do. So know your stats, and I think that the very, very hyper local is a lot better than the knowing, oh, well, I know that Metro Detroit is appreciated 11%. I think it's much better to know, hey, my friend lives on 123 Main Street and 127 Main Street sold. So even if you're just pulling up whatever app that you use when you pull into somebody's party and be like, do I know that something sold around here? Because you know that they know their neighbors moved. Hey, did you know my neighbors moved? Instead of, oh no, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, 125, they had a great indoor pool, and that house sold for $30,000 over asking. So knowing the hyper local, I think, is very important. So a couple other things to note. So now, sorry, I'm going to go off my own notes now. I don't think this is, you guys can see it, but I don't think they can. So that's good because these notes are a mess. Also, I was typing on my phone, which isn't always great either. So a couple things to note from Ryan Gorman spoke, who's the CEO of Coldwell Banker International. I don't know what the actual title there is. Fantastically brilliant guy. I thought he could have spoken for another hour, and I like when people are, the rapidity of his speech for me it was a lot easier to follow than someone who is a turtle. I'm not saying that any of the instructors there were turtles,
Oh,
but
you are too.
I am 100% saying that. So yeah, well, anyways, maybe this shouldn't be recorded. So a couple of things that he mentioned, the ratio of income to rent or housing expenses has actually increased in the last couple of years. So this means that we're spending a lower percentage of our money on rent or housing expenses. I think that's fantastic to note. Is part of that inflation? I don't know. Also, by the way, if you have clients that are worried about inflation, like I am, one of the great things to tell them is, well, hey, if you're worried about inflation and you're worried about the value of your money, instead of having a giant pile of cash saved up, which is going to devalue, why not buy a historically 3.8% per year appreciating asset at 3% down? I'm sorry, at 3% interest. To me, if inflation becomes 5% and your interest rate's 3.8%, last time I checked, that is not only free money, but you are not only gaining an appreciation, but you're also hedging against inflation. So if you want to know more about using mortgages to hedge against inflation, just give me a call and I can explain it to the best of my small amount of knowledge on it. But I've had that a lot of people are wondering, hey, what's my money going to be worth? I don't necessarily want to do the stock market right now because I'm nervous about what's going on. Some of the companies are volatile, and if I put it in, like if you put your money in municipal bonds right now, inflation is going to outpace your growth. At least for a lot of them, they're like 2.8%. That's a little bit concerning. So and this is not just primary homes, but people that are looking for additional investment properties. I think this is a great time for that. Yes, I know it's expensive. No, are you in a decent area? Are you going to get 30% cash on cash returns? No, you're not. But even if you get lower returns and you're paying a mortgage, there's some real benefit there. I've got clients that normally would have wanted 12% returns that are fine with 5% because they know that their mortgage is hedging their inflation and they're going to take care of the tax benefits. So this
now renting those
Yeah.
properties? Oh,
Yep. So this is a great time. If you know people that are, maybe they've just, sold the house and they downsized and they've got some equity, or maybe they've, hey, they're dual income and they, that they're looking for something to do with somewhere to store their money. I think really those people are a good person to look, not to mention if you've got people that have got higher amounts of disposable income, I don't know what's going to happen to their tax brackets. It's very possible that they may end up having and saying, hey, yes, I'm going to spend more money on this investment mortgage, but it's I'm deducting on my taxes and I'm kind of breaking even. I think that's very something definitely to look into. Another thing is remote work migration. We are seeing a lot of people that are now working either from home full time. One of my past clients is an engineer and researcher at FedEx, and he was in the office 5-6 days a week. Is now 100% at home, almost never goes in, and we're seeing that left and right where people are working at home more. And so the people that I would want to check in on are people that have 2-bedroom properties. Because that we're wanting that 3rd bedroom as a home office. People that are working from home. You'll know who's working from home based on their professions. If you're watching their Facebook, you can see. Obviously, if they work construction, they're not working at home. If they're doing accounting, they might not. Those are the people to reach out to. And I think the conversation is a very easy one. It's number one. It's, hey, how has remote work changed your life? And has it changed your thought at all about where would you live if you're working from home? Has it changed your thought about where you should live? I can tell you that if John North called me up right now and said, we're permanently closing all these offices, you have to work from home, which is insane. Would it change where I lived? Absolutely, it would. Everybody's got a dream area to live, and a lot of the number one thing that you get when you're talking about location for your buyer clients is, well, I want to be within X amount of minutes from work. So I think that's a great, amount of people to go and look out for. And I think we mentioned, inflation adjusted wages have increased the first time in 10 years. Okay. A couple other things. I want to talk a little bit about your realtor.com profile, but let me see if there's anything else I wanted to hit first. Oh, yes. Okay. Another awesome thing when you're having your social calendars is I know that it's very difficult to get contractors right now. I know that it is, if you want work done, it's tough. You can either have it good, cheap, or fast, but pick one. And putting together your list, and maybe this is something we could collaboratively do as an office. And maybe I need to start saving the responses for when somebody reaches out and says, hey, I need a window washer. And someone chimes in and says, oh yeah, try these people. I'd like to put together a spreadsheet of kind of preferred contractors. And that way you can share, especially if you've got clients in Clarkston, if you have a preferred contractor list, maybe even those contractors can give some sort of promo code or something if they are referred by you. It's just another way if you're their resource for, again, market knowledge and everything that goes along with home ownership. Hey, we're going to set you up with a refi with new homeowners insurance with, a guy that does roofing. It's the comprehensive experience. The thing that I don't know who it was that brought it up, but they said a Cadillac and a Honda Civic will both get you to work, right? But if the type of client that is looking that wants to, or pick whatever luxury brand you want, they want that. It's not just that because you can probably load out a Honda Civic with some of the same features that you get with a Cadillac or a Mercedes or a Lexus or whatever. It's the holistic experience. So it's the service that you get. So like, I know that the Mercedes dealerships will come to your work, pick up your car, take it back for an oil change, bring it back to you. So the amount of service that you get, the overall consumer experience is what sets a brokerage like Coldwell Banker apart from a discount brokerage. And also from our end, it's what should set us apart with you guys giving you the service and value that you need. And I would love to just and I'll be reaching out to everybody just to see what could bring more value to you guys as agents. Obviously we're trying our best to make your life as friction free as possible. I know that that's been tough with some of the systems. But so we'd be more than happy if you're like, hey, you know what, this is what pisses me off, just let us know and we'll try and help. All right. So on to Realtor.com profiles. I'm going to pull it up. I will try and share. I'll present again to you guys. So this was actually, I thought, fantastic from the folks at Realtor.com. Had a great class on the Realtor.com profiles. This is number one, less than 5% of agents have a fully filled out profile. And I think it was that don't even have a profile picture. So in a few minutes, we're going to just kind of look, and we may do this as a class at some point. I don't know. I don't think it's enough of a thing to do for a class. But so if you check your realtor.com profile, you should have a pro login. And if you just hit login, there should be a pro login, and we're just going to show you a couple things about it. And why am I? It just logged in, but oh, there we are. Okay. So a couple things to note. And I'll just kind of pull. You might be able to see my notes again, but that's okay. The agents that have a headshot get 66% more leads per year than those who don't. Then the numbers that have an about me video in their profile, 80% more likely. And they actually did a survey that 80% of National Association of Realtors did, that 80% of people wanted to work with a buyer or seller's agent that had an about me video. Because again, this is again another thing that I've been thinking a lot about. It's no secret that I spend a ton of time watching video content, and the amount of trust that's built through video is, I think, second to only face-to-face interaction. And I've said this about if you have a YouTube channel or whatever, if the people in your life are seeing you on video, they are developing even though it's a one-way communication, it's a two-way trust, because you're seeing that they're watching your videos and they're seeing that you are speaking to them. If I go and pull up, let's say Tom Ferry, I feel like I know who Tom Ferry is because I've seen so much of his video content. And there are people that will know that they feel like they know you if they've seen enough of you on video. I'm not saying that you have to do a million videos, but at least having a 2-minute about me, I think is really helpful. So let's look at this. The first thing, make sure you have a profile picture. Make sure that you have a header picture. I can help you with both of those and finding out where you should get your header picture and what you should put. I just put that because I thought it was cool because they had it on a marquee, but we'll probably change that out. They said the most engaging were interior photos of houses like the houses that you sell. So if your average sale price is $300,000, don't be having pictures of interiors of $1 million homes. Keep it kind of within the realm. So a real thing to take a look at, when you look at your specialties, your areas served, and your zip codes served, the more, and I've only got a couple here, I've got to change mine as well. The more tags that you have, these will actually be SEO keyword tags that will be picked up by Google. So if you have the more tags that you have and the more specific they are, these will actually be picked up. So let's say that someone is looking for someone who does golf courses in 3, I always forget if it's 346 or 436. Is it 346? Who also does waterfronts. Well, if your tags are all, well, I serve 436 or 346, I serve golf courses, and I do downsizing and waterfronts, your profile is much more likely to show up. So that's just something to kind of take a look at. Make sure you have specific keyword tagging. Another thing, you can have your NAR designations. If you have any NAR designations or certifications, NAR should actually immediately pull them through. And then if you speak any other language. Also, hooking up your social accounts, you can actually have your Facebook or your Twitter or Instagram posts show up on your realtor.com profile, which is pretty cool. I'll be working on that and helping you out, showing you how to do that. But so let's say that you're putting your just listings or your just listeds or your just solds, those will actually pop up then on your realtor.com profile. It will also show your past sales in the past. I think it's the past 6 months, something like that. Just kind of like Zillow does.
Yeah, mine said like 98 to 408.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not listings,
you mean
solds.
for
Sorry.
second.
Yeah, so it'll show your solds. I think that it'll show them on a map.
Yes.
Do you have yours on a map? Where'd that come from now? I'm like,
It's on my homepage. Actually, I'm on realtor.com, real estate agents.
oh, on your, I'm sorry, on your, if you searched your profile.
Yes.
Okay. I'll send out a screenshot or something about what that looks like.
Is
But
that
so it'll-
another thing where you have to like update it like you do?
No,
Zillow?
it'll come through the MLS. So any of your past sales, it's not like Zillow where you have to confirm them and where someone else can steal your sale.
Okay.
This is specifically linked to that. So don't worry about that. The other thing I want to talk about is recommendations, ratings, and reviews. So one of the things that we are going to look at is the ways that most people search for an agent on realtor.com are in two functions. Now I got to get back to just the regular public facing one. So let's find a realtor. And let's put Clarkson. So the default that they will come up with is by who has had the most recent MLS activity, which is really nice because it's randomized, or at least somewhat random. There's nobody that's paying for a top spot. The other way that most people search is by either highest ratings or most recommendations is actually the one that they're seeing a lot. So you can, and we really want to look at what will put you onto the first page. So to be on the first page, you need 22 recommendations as of right now. If we were talking about getting 22 reviews, that sounds like a lot. The difference with recommendations is recommendations can be done by, yes, they can be done by your clients, but they also can be done by your fellow agents, by your vendors, by people that you know. So they don't have to be specifically linked to a transaction. Also, let's say that you, like for me, most of my Zillows, most of my reviews are housed within Zillow. I know that Peg has a lot in Google Business, which I think is if you're going to do reviews anywhere, that's probably the best one. But so when you look at your realtor.com profile and you look at your recommendations, and again, if this is something that you're interested in looking at minimum, again, make sure you put in a headshot and things like that on your profile. But if you want to get into recommendations, just get in touch with me and I'll help you out. But the great thing is you can add recommendations. So let's say that you have your reviews in other platforms. You can just copy and paste them and add in a recommendation right from there, which is really nice. So if you've got, like, I think that do you keep photos with your Google reviews, I think?
Mm-mm.
Okay. But let's say that it's from a house. You can put the, whatever the picture of the house is.
Mhm.
You can obviously say, hey, this was one of my clients. This is one of my vendors. This is, how I know somebody. You don't have to, but that's a nice, easy way to do things. And especially let's say that you're new in the business or you don't do a ton of sales. It's a great way for you to call up all your mortgage lenders or call up the people that you've worked with in the past. It's almost like, think of it like the LinkedIn endorsements, but it goes in your realtor.com profile, and if you've got a bunch of LinkedIn endorsements, maybe that'd be a good thing to go and grab. Hey, I saw that so-and-so endorsed me for this. I'm going to use that as a recommendation. If I was going to focus on anything from your profile, boy, if I only need 22 of these to become in the first page, I know that I'm going to go on and do recommendations for all of you guys as soon as I get a couple minutes, whenever that is. But yeah, I would encourage you guys recommend to each other. If you've got, hey, and if you've got co-ops that you've worked with, they say, hey, would you mind giving me a recommendation? I think the vast majority of co-ops will, I know I want to see my co-ops. If I've got a good co-op, I want to see them succeed. I'm not going to, that's the way that we kind of do business. So if you want more about recommendations and reviews, just get in touch with me. But definitely, if you're going to do nothing else, sign into your profile, add in all of the areas that you've worked. You don't have to have worked in there in the past, but the areas that you're willing to work.
I like your header.
Yeah, that was the marquee
Yeah, I
actually
saved it.
from,
I have it in my
yeah.
photos.
Um,
Awesome.
like I said, you can add in your video if you want help with that. And then one more thing about, so your bio, see, I don't even have a bio. Boy, do as I say, not as I do, huh? Your bio should be, maybe it should be a little bit about you personally, but nothing obviously too deep. Hey, maybe I've got, 2 kids that are in Clarkston schools, but not, oh, my kids go to this specific school and they're in this grade. Again, there's creepers on the internet. But mentioning a little bit about your professional history and keeping it more consumer focused. So I serve these areas. I got into real estate because I wanted to help these types of people do this.
Mhm.
I think is a lot more effective than, well, I got into real estate because I like houses and I wanted to make money. Okay. Keeping it consumer focused and then also keeping it local and specific. So if your biography says, because again, Google will pull those location tags and it will, if you say, hey, I've been working in Clarkston for 10 years. The thing that I find that most consumers love is the small town atmosphere and the Clarkston schools. When you're having those specific places, it's going to then show up that not only they've been tagged in hey, I work in these areas. It's been tagged in a contextual scenario. It gives it even more weight. So, and if you really want to keep your profile rock and rolling, go in every couple months and edit a couple of sentences. Just like how within Zillow, changing the description of the picture order can boost you in the algorithm. It can do the same thing here in Realtor.com. So, I said, if you've got questions about that, please let me know. Let me see if there's anything else I really wanted to let you guys know about from Ignite. Quick couple of reminders while we're at it. We are doing Toys for Tots postcards. The company's paying for the printing of the postcards. All you have to pay for is postage. If you don't have enough addresses that you want this to go to, we can help. I can show you a great way to do that. Please let Alice know how many you would like if you would like to send out Toys for Tots postcards. I know some of you already have. Make sure to do that ASAP. Another thing, if you are having problems with your license renewal, please reach out ASAP. We have today, tomorrow, and Friday. TikTok, guys. Yeah. If you have problems with Con Ed, please let me know. Please make sure that you have checked whether you've done your NAR code of ethics. I think that's just by the end of the year, but just while we're on the subject, it's a good thing to check.
Where's the best place to do that? Because I need to
Go to the NAR website and you can log in. You use your Nerds ID to log in. If you don't know your Nerds ID, there's a link that it'll show you. It's free if you don't need Con Ed. If you need Con Ed, they charge you like $15, but it is free and it's just a video. It's easy peasy. Let me see if I have a couple other things that I wanted to note.
Peter,
Yes.
this is J.R. Reagan. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was on the Knockbore website, and they were talking about a law firm out of Miami suing agents in California for not having. Don't know how to put this. Anyway, it concerned the American for Disabilities Act.
Yeah, the ADA violations.
Yeah, so I know that Coldwell Banker sets us up for our websites. Are
Yes.
we in any
So
danger
anything?
of that?
No, as far as I'm aware, and I'm looking into that, but generally speaking, if you are using the company provided tools, you are going to be safe. There's the disclaimers there. Everything that you need to do is already set up for you. The only danger zones that you get into is mostly with social media. So what you want to make sure is if you are doing a lot of real estate stuff on social media, make sure that you have, or if you're doing your own website, let me know. We'll provide the correct disclaimers for you. And the thing that I always say is, number one, make sure your social profiles have that you are a realtor at Coldwell Banker Weir Manuel, because then there's nobody that can say, I didn't know that this was a brokerage representing this. And then link back. And if you're sharing out a just listed or just sold, link it not to Zillow, but link it to the CBWM page. If you go to, like, for yours would be j.reagan.cbwm, and then type in the listing address, share that link. So directing back to the company is going to keep you pretty safe. I am looking into make sure that there's nothing else that we need to do, but generally speaking, yeah, you should be totally covered. Coldwell Banker does, both Coldwell Banker nationally and Weir Manuel does really, we are possibly the most overly concerned with doing things the correct way with liability brokerage that I've ever run into, possibly sometimes to our detriment. Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be any reason that you guys should be worried with anything like that. But I am looking into it a little bit more.
Okay, great. I appreciate it, because they were saying that they were directly suing the agents and not the brokerages.
So here's the thing with the way that this is opinion to some degree, but as long as you're following the best practices and policies for Coldwell Banker Manual, if you're doing the right things, our E&O as a company should cover you. So it would be and I'm not sure why they would be suing individual agents anyways. Most of the times the brokerage is the one that's sued. I don't see that I would be concerned with any of that. A lot of that it seems to be, and again, I'm just looking into it a little bit more. It seems to be agents that have kind of gone rogue and were doing their own thing. But I'm speaking from that. Let me do a little bit more research to be sure before saying exactly what I think happened, and I'll just send you an email personally, JR, or I'll send one
Okay.
out.
Yeah, because they were saying
I
that
want to make sure that I've got my facts straight.
they weren't suing brokerages because they have the resources, whereas agents are just, being sued for 15 to 30,000 or whatever that. It's easy money. It's easy money.
So like low hanging fruit. Okay. Yeah. Let me do a little bit more looking into that, and I will get back to you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. One other thing to kind of be very aware of, obviously we have the Remind Docs transition coming up. Listings will not be put in through Remind for the considerable future, probably for the next week or two at least. I would, if you have a listing coming up, just get in contact with me and I'll start to show everyone the procedure. I'll probably do a walkthrough video when it's live to kind of have it recorded at least. But be prepared for some bumps in the road. Please, if you're getting frustrated over the next week or two, I'm basically clearing my schedule as much as I can to help you guys out with this whole Remind Docs transition. I know it's going to be frustrating. I know it's a giant pain in the ass. Just call me. If you're like stuck on something, call me and I'll either record a quick video for you, or I'll hop on, meet with you like this, share my screen, or have you share your screen and show you click by click what to do. But please don't sit there and struggle without reaching out. That's what we're here for. I know that it's sometimes seems silly, but that's what we're here for. So just be aware of that. Be aware that that's coming up. You've got a couple more days. I would encourage you, if you've got somebody that's on the fence between listing this week and next week, maybe bump it to this week, would be my opinion. Just because it is going to be a little bit of a bugaboo to get listings in. So again, if you're having all of our Remind Docs webinars have been recorded. There's also an in-person, if you wanted to do another in-person, there's one at Knockbor on Friday that Darwin Conley is teaching. Darwin and I have spoken at length about Remind Docs. And he's very aware of, like I am, of the things that are wrong, the things that are right. So if you don't want to listen to me talk about it, he's another good person to take that class on it. So, well, I don't want to. All right. Other than that, anybody have any questions on anything we've gone over? Like I said, JR, I'll get back to you on that. I know that this was just kind of some little mini things here and there, but hopefully it's something that if you can take away one or two things, make sure that you've got your kind of dialogue ready for when people are going to talk to you socially. Make sure that you're interacting meaningfully with people, and make sure that you go check out your Realtor.com profile. At least put a headshot in. Like you can do. You've all have headshots. I see them on your email signatures. Add in your headshot. So cool. Thanks for joining. We will see you when we see you. If you have any questions, please, my phone is on. I am awake. Don't hesitate to reach out anytime. Like I said, if I'm up, I'll answer. So thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good rest of your day.
That's funny. I always tell people if I'm awake, I'll answer.